This past week, Palia put out a secret update as part of their 0.193 patch on July 8th that changes the gardening meta. Palia's May update, 0.191, brought us the Elderwood Adventure Zone and 2 new crops to plant in our garden, Batterfly Beans and Rockhopper pumpkins. Batterfly Beans are accessible to everyone by simply wandering around Elderwood and looking next to medium-sized trees. Rockhopper pumpkins, however, required you to complete more of the story and actually collect some of the Elderwood currency. Knowing this, you would think that the pumpkins were going to be a really powerful crop that you can only get after playing quite a bit of Palia. The fact is, the crops couldn't be more opposite of that opinion. Rockhopper pumpkins rocked the gardening community with how low they were for profit, combined with giving the quality boost, which is useless late game. Batterfly Beans, however, were now the highest gold per tile crop and gave the best bonus, Harvest Boost. You were able to take the best profit layouts, which required 25 booster crops, and brought it down to only 17 or even 8 depending on the layout you wish to use. Batterfly Beans were now a great crop to grow, and the seeders would just print money for you. All of that changed in an instant, July 8th. Mentioned nowhere in the patch notes, just secretly updated behind the scenes, Palia turned the best crop in the game into something more average. Originally, Batterfly Beans were a 1-to-1 ratio for both the seeders and the preserve jars. In the seeder, it took 2 hours to process the bean into a seed, but the value increase was a whopping 221%. Today, Batterfly Beans require 2 crops to make 1 seed, dropping the value by 50%. The processing time was reduced by 35 minutes, down to 1 hour and 25 minutes, but overall the value increase went down to only 60%. The seeder used to be able to run for 60 hours before running out of crops to process. Now it'll run out after 22 hours and 40 minutes. For the raw values, beans went from 23 and 34 for regular and quality values to 28 and 42, so not everything for beans went down. Now let's get into the updated rankings for Batterfly Beans. Beans used to be number 1 seed processing crop and number 8 preserve processing crop for gold per tile. For gold per hour with only processed crops, beans were number 15 for seeds, dead last, and number 2 for preserves. For gold per hour with selling raw crops, beans went up to number 10 for seeds and number 8 for preserves. After the secret update, beans are now number 7 for seeds and number 8 for preserves in the gold per tile category, literally like almost dead average in the middle. For gold per hour with only processed crops, beans are still number 15 for seeds, but dropped down to number 3 for preserves. And for gold per hour with raw crops, beans are down to number 12 for seeds and number 9 for preserves. I thought this type of nerf was going to happen to bok choy last year, and it never did, so this nerf to beans came as a surprise to many in the gardening community. The only other crop to get a nerf like this, I believe, was tomatoes back in 2023 when the game was initially released. They had their seed ratio changed from 1-to-1 or 2-to-2 to 3-to-2. What about Rockhopper pumpkins? You'll be glad to know they did not receive a nerf. I mean, there's really no reason to ruin one of the worst profit crops in the game. The sad news is that it didn't receive a buff either. Pumpkins are now number 15 for seeds and number 12 for preserves when looking at gold per tile. Pumpkins are 13 for seeds and 12 for preserves when looking at gold per hour with only processed crops. And pumpkins are number 15 for seeds and number 12 for preserves and gold per hour with raw crops added in. Overall, pumpkins remain in the bottom 20% of crops when comparing profits. So if you are interested in making the most money you can, check out the layouts listed in my Palia calculator by heading over to aqajj.net/palia-notes. There are some crazy layouts in there and some simple ones. And if you have a hard time harvesting gardens with multiple crop types, check out the best method to make sure you don't plant your crops in the wrong spots. Until the next Palia update, take care.